Hello everyone, and welcome to Living by the Law, the podcast discussing fictional worlds and how wondrous and ridiculous they are. My name is Matt, and I'm joined by my co-hosts, Jude and Guy. Living by the Law is not currently sponsored. If you'd wish to sponsor us, find an arch nemesis. Foil their plans as they foil yours right back. Remember to keep them closer than any friend. When you eventually get married, remember to send your sponsorship offer with our invitation. We will hear you. We always do.
This episode, we dive deep into the lore of Viktor Arcane and Jayce Arcane, talking about their characters' origins, how they've changed over time, and why the Viktor fanbase is so up in arms about the new version of their old favourite. Warning, this episode contains spoilers for both seasons of Arcane, as well as Jayce, Viktor, and Blitzcrank's old stories. Enjoy.
What's the biggest animal you would fight and survive for, let's say, 8 minutes of fighting?
Polar bear.
For $10 million. No, let's say $100 million, just to make the stakes really there.
First of all, we need to address.
Polar bear was a very quick answer. You're telling me that you could survive for 8 minutes against a polar bear?
No, he just wants to die, I think.
I think that it's an endangered species and I'm not going to get another chance. So this hypothetical is the only chance I'm going to get to fight it. Brown bears are everywhere. Brown bear's easy. I can fight a brown bear whenever I want to. Polar bear.
So you're actually fighting an animal that is endangered just so you can fight an animal that's endangered?
I gotta check it off the list.
You're going to be checked off the list. You're fucking dead.
No.
You're gone.
No.
Yes.
I'm stronger.
Also, dude, the correct answer. What's your answer before I give you the correct answer?
I don't know. I was looking for ideas, honestly. I don't know.
Well, the correct answer is I'd make friends with the animal. We'd just
No.
be chill.
That's not how it works.
We'd just be chill.
The key word is fight.
You don't get the 100 million.
It has the
What
number
is a
gone up? I
fight?
thought it was 10,000.
We'll just like gently push each other because we're chill on that level.
We're chill like that. I'm just a
The
chill guy.
sponsors, the game makers won't be happy. They'll AI generate some footage of you killing the kangaroo's babies so it gets angry again.
Holy shit! That's
okay,
fucked, man.
You're gonna fight.
That's fucked.
You're fighting. There's no cop out answer
like
here.
that.
You're fighting.
I need context. Where am I fighting it?
Roman Colosseum Arena.
Got you on a fucking technicality, blue whale.
Sure.
It also I think you have to put it into natural habitat.
No, they actually did flood. It's going to be the time they flooded the Colosseum.
They flooded it?
Yeah, they put boats in there.
They used to do that. Yeah, they used to ship. They used
So,
to
Why don't we do cool
jokes-
shit? Why don't we do
jokes
cool
on you,
shit
I guess.
anymore?
yeah, they used to recreate ship battles in the Colosseum.
Why can't we do cool shit like this anymore?
Yeah, right.
Fucking OH&S is going to come down on our heads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have an answer, Matt?
Okay, I think you haven't. The classification of the question is very interesting. You've just said I have to fight an animal and I get $100 million. So I can pick a bug. I can squish the bug and I get $100
That's the
million.
big. Yeah, but you'll be ashamed. You'll be shamed by the international.
I'll be $100 million rich. Okay?
Yeah, but
they'll say
like,
Matt Doyle can't fight anything bigger than a bug.
The more interesting question is if you get its weight in gold.
Okay, that's good.
I agree, but I also think you're reading too much into the simple question.
No, Jude. I don't think you've thought enough about the simple question.
I disagree.
I think the classification of being a nerd is thinking way too much about the dumbest questions.
I think that's terrible, and I think that would be an awful basis for a podcast. Just personally, I think anything that overcooks an idea would be terrible.
Speaking of something being thought as of terrible, and they're not really overcooked, it's undercooked. League of Legends.
No, fuck
Part
off.
2. I said there was a part 2.
He did say there's a part 2.
You don't get to protest.
No, I'm going to say that League of Legends is fucking overcooked as shit. What do you mean? There's like
This
12,000
is
people. As
going to be
characters.
my last episode, maybe one more. However, last episode went over the Arcane Season 2 characters, the impact that Arcane Season 2 had on League lore, just in terms of where those characters were and where they're now at, and why some people were very annoyed. There's a very quick summary for those who didn't listen to the first episode, which you should go do. League of Legends is a multiplayer online battle arena game, originally released in 2009. Arcane is a Netflix-produced show, animated by French studio Fortiche Productions. Season 1 and 2 released in 2021 and 2024, respectively. Last time we went over, again, as said, some of the main characters' incarnations, original incarnations, and how they've changed over time, but I had a few very obvious omissions. The entire reason I decided to make these 2 episodes was because of a very large uproar in the Viktor fanbase. Because as people who know League lore know, I write beautiful sentences. Victor is entirely different in the show compared with his original version, and there is nothing left. Victor. There is nothing left of the character that many people fell in love with. Or is there? Let's get into it, JB.
JB not.
JB not. For the lore of this episode, I am obviously going to be covering Victor. I am also going to be covering Jayce, and I'm going to kind of do them at the same time, because from the inception of Jayce's character, like, there were those 2/3 characters inherently intertwined in their storylines. So, we lay our foundation with the initial 2 to 3 paragraphs given on the release of these characters, Victor's being from late 2011, and Jayce being released not too long after in the middle of 2012. Any questions before we begin?
Victor Nation.
Victor.
How are we feeling?
Speaking of nations and how we feeling, you can support our Patreon, our podcast at our Patreon, and join the nation of lawkeepers.
Join Law Nation.
Yeah, join the Law Nation. And we will give you content every week. We will give you extra content sometimes, and we'll chat with you and love you.
I'm trying to not make a joke about how we won't be racist to you for not being part of our nation anymore.
No, stop.
I feel like there's some...
Nah.
There's definitely... We can run with this.
We can run with this.
This has got legs.
We don't need to. It doesn't. It has bad legs, just like Victor. Terrible
Speaking
legs.
of Victor...
That's so ableist, Matt. What the fuck? What the fuck?
Shit. Fuck. I just meant he was yeah.
Cancelled.
Victor originally was a...
Belgium, how are we feeling?
Gonna kill you too. There's 3,000 words in this. It's gonna go for an hour and a half. Victor was a gifted child with a knack for science and invention, specifically mechanical automation. He went to the prestigious Zornite Academy of Techmaturgy, and while there, developed a robot with his peers, a sentient steam golem named Blitzcrank. Victor. If everyone's seen those robot memes, that's Blitzcrank, baby. Yep. I did say 3 characters at the beginning, and Blitz is who I was talking about, but we'll get back to Blitz in a second here. The credit for Victor's hard work was, however, sadly taken by his professor, and try as he might to reclaim the achievement through submissions to his college, he would never be recognized for it. He sank into a deep depression, leaving the college for his own private lab, disregarding all human connections. While there, alone, he worked in secret on a new invention, a way to surpass human shortcomings of the weak and frail flesh and the illogical and emotional mind. He had replaced, quote, the majority of his anatomy, along with his personality as well. Gone was the desire to better society by creating robots that could deal with harsher conditions than humans, and instead was a desire for a glorious evolution. While skeptical of his social policies, the scientist who studied Victor's enhancements couldn't deny the sophistication of them. Victor's mind was now integrated into the machine, which only accelerated his evolution. He had failed at one thing, though, as deep down, he still harbored a strong resentment for the professor who had stolen his work, i.e., emotions still clouded his judgment. Still, his focus remains on a desire to further enhance his machines, which he does by pitting them against the greatest fighters in Valorant, the League of Legends, because it's 2011, and they're still a thing.
They're still trying to justify the League of Legends and what it's the battles?
So, I think I touched on this in previous versions.
I thought it was just like, we're just chucking him in a cage from people across history.
The original version of the League of Legends was a version of, like, a UN of sorts, except instead of having like debates and then votes that get vetoed by like 5 countries, the League of Legends was a panel of powerful mages who summoned the best fighters from around the world to fight in order to resolve debates. It was like if they made Pokemon into a political...
I think that... Have you ever seen... like some congresses, they just have like physical like water fights or like physical fights on
that
the
would
floor.
That would be ballin'.
Like there was, I can't remember what country it was. One country, they couldn't sign a bill because someone ate the bill.
That feels like Italy in my head, and I don't know. That's not a slight against Italians. I've just listen. Australian Parliament is fucking insane as well. We get the same rep, but
it's fucked.
I feel like
we should bring that back. That's good.
100%. The actual original League of Legends was created because the world had been on a sort of nuclear arms race warpath, but with magic, which obviously want to avoid. They got a bunch of mages together. We're like, hey, let's solve all these problems with various little magical battles. So yeah. Now about Blitzcrank. What is going on?
Nothing.
My co-hosts seem to be distracted by some sort of smell.
Matt got the dogs out, and I just got like just a little bit of foot.
When you release the dogs, there's a whiff. That's a fact of the feat.
So I pointed at them and just went.
I was more implying that we are professionals, and you didn't have to tell the entire audience that my dog smelled. You didn't have to do that. You didn't have to do that.
My dogs do. I just wear Birks so that they're pre-aired.
I was insulted by the needed to make it, and now we've made it a big thing.
It kept listen, guys, I'm trying to keep us on topic. I'm trying to keep us talking about Blitzcrank, about that robot. Blitzcrank was actually released before both Jayce and Viktor, being part of League's original 2009 cast. Introduced as a steam golem from the College of Techmaturgy, as mentioned, the story follows as it does in Viktor's, with credits for Blitzcrank's invention being taken by a professor, a man named Stanwyck Padiddly.
What?
Yes, 100%. Fun fact, mentioned in Arcane. Okay. Not in the context of his original lore, but he's there.
Was Viktor related?
Viktor and his team created the robot.
Was Viktor related at all with Heimerdinger in the original lore?
Viktor's not related with Heimerdinger in any lore.
But like Viktor's
taught and in there. Yeah. No, originally Heimerdinger worked for the Yordle College, which is what I mentioned last episode.
Yeah.
He only got associated with them in Arcane, and even in previous versions where he was in Piltover, he had a glamour on himself, so he didn't appear as a Yordle.
Yeah.
Yes.
Brain.
Function.
Was Viktor from Zorn?
Yes.
Originally?
Yes.
Okay.
Always been from Zorn.
Okay.
His childhood, because it's like a 2-paragraph description, we don't get a lot of detail on the childhood. It's just like he was a gifted inventor, and then he went to the Zornite Tech College. So he's from Zorn, in Zorn, went to college in Zorn in his original lore.
Oh, there you go.
Stanwyck Padiddly took in credit for the invention. Blitzcrank's story does not end as it does in Viktor's lore, though, as Blitzcrank being discarded in Viktor's lore as an inanimate object, as Blitzcrank soon becomes a celebrity due to the fact that he is able to learn and make decisions for the betterment of Zorn. A legal battle ensues, deciding who Blitzcrank belongs to, Viktor's team or Professor Padiddly. During the course of the trial, however, it was pretty obvious that neither side had amazing intentions for him, and Blitzcrank submitted his own appeal to gain personal autonomy.
Fuck yeah, Blitzcrank.
Zorn's, direct quote, liberal council urged on by Blitzcrank's new fans/defenders, the general public of Zorn, declared that indeed Blitz was his own independent sentient entity.
Best.
Blitzcrank, fearing what he had brought on himself, promptly left Zorn, and then went to join the League of Legends so he could go fight people.
Great.
Fuck yeah.
Nice.
Sure.
That's great.
Yeah.
Hey, if he made that decision himself, sure.
It's his own independent decision, and God bless him for it. However, we now rezone back in to Jayce. JB. As I say here, JB, original lore. Jayce's origins are relatively vague again, just because 2-paragraph style, simply being a promising young inventor from Piltover. He was commissioned to study a rare arcane crystal, which at the time this was written was still likely the Bracken crystal that we mentioned in previous League episodes, although not quite as explicit as it would eventually be, before it was then retconned to no longer be Scorpion crystals. You can see the issues we're having with League lore.
Hextech, we got
Hextech, we're there.
Hextech.
Except for the fact that it is mentioned that he works on Hextech's tools before they discover this crystal. So I don't know what the fuck old lore was cooking. It is what it is. Jayce discovered that this crystal was a vast energy source which he was eager to harness, but he was not the only one who knew of its potential. Striding into the room, Viktor, already at the stage that we left him at the end of his lore, i.e. turning into Robot Man, heavily modified, offers Jayce to join him. He recognizes the other scientist's gifts and wants him to be part of the glorious evolution. Jayce's exact thoughts are not written, but he denies Viktor, likely not wanting to be weird Robot Man, which seems reasonable.
That's fair.
Viktor was determined to get the crystal regardless, blasted Jayce to the side, and snatched the crystal, Chad walking into the distance, incinerating the security as he left. Jayce demanded retaliation against Zorn for this, but the government of Piltover refused an act of aggression. Very different from what we see in the show.
That is very different. He's like, kill them all. It's like, fuck me, Jayce, calm down.
Quote,
Maybe not.
For the next part, he decided to act alone, realizing that if no one struck back, Piltover would never be safe. Which I feel is an interesting sentence in terms of sentiment that I won't get into, really, unless you would like to.
That's just going to say that's politically a thing that's happened a lot.
Yeah.
And it doesn't go well.
No.
It's not a very good
It's
start.
Almost Batman-esque. In terms of, like, if I don't take on this and get violent, we're never going to be safe. And it's like, is that true?
You know what it is almost like? It's almost, I mean, there has been an attack, to be fair.
Yeah.
But, like, this is like taking it because one person was an asshole, pretty bad person, and you're attacking the whole of Zorn. But it's almost like Captain America Winter Soldier, killing all the possible criminals before they do the crimes.
Mm-hmm.
Or Minority Report.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Potential. We need violence to get away.
Kill every threat before it's,
To quote Captain America, if you try to end a war before it starts, innocent people die.
Mm-hmm.
But then don't innocent people die if you let the war start as well?
Jayce uses the...
You can't win.
Crystal.
Don't war.
Goddamn. Jayce manages to finish a previous tool that he was working on, a hammer/mining laser, now called the Mercury Hammer, similar to what we see in the show. He used a shard of the crystal that he was working on. If that's true in the original lore, I don't know. They don't mention it. Whatever. That he seems to just finish working on it.
Fuck yeah.
He then marches alone into Zorn down to where Viktor is hiding. Here, we get our first mention of Viktor's followers, here called his acolytes. We get no additional details on them, and I cannot see any other context that they are mentioned in, apart from later, which is interesting because they kind of change as time goes on. They try to stop Jayce, who smashes them aside to get to Viktor. Once inside Viktor's lab, Jayce is looks in disgusted awe at Viktor's creation, all powered by the stolen crystal. He moves deeper, looking to destroy said crystal, but Viktor will not let that happen without a fight. Again, 2 paragraphs. It's very like basic in terms of depth. They fight, fairly evenly matched, both leaving heavily wounded, but finally Jayce manages to get a strike in on the crystal, destroying it in a massive explosion.
And then they fuck.
And then they have sex. I had an AO3 joke in the middle of this, but I didn't quite mesh.
Yeah, fair.
I ran out of time. There was a good couple pages, though. I got way too into it.
If you want the minisode on our Patreon of Guy reading AO3, Jayce and Viktor.
I tried to do research to figure out when the first Jayce/Viktor fic was. There's one from 2015 which mentions it, but they don't get to the chapter where they actually write it, and it seems like they abandoned the fic before they got to the details. Then there's 2 more.
Right, got in touch with them.
One of them is like a comic that's like Viktor, Jayce, and Heimerdinger play D&D, and then there's a couple more, and then there's one fic just called I Fucking Hate You, and the only 2 characters are Jayce and Viktor.
Damn. That's
didn't read it. Funny. Maybe sexual, maybe not.
It could be. Hate fucking.
Jayce then returns to Piltover a hero, but also now keenly aware of the dangers that oppose to his great city. So as we can see in the original lore, Jayce and Viktor are not co-workers. They didn't even really know each other until Jayce blabbed about his cool crystal and Viktor came to steal it. They are strictly enemies, with their original bio pages even listing each other as rivals, as per at least the 2013 Internet Archive pages that I could dig up, because Riot doesn't keep a good archive of their lore. It is what it is.
Yep.
So
they want us to forget the old versions.
They do. They don't believe in them. So we then come into the 2014 overhaul. As I said in the previous episode, League lore has had many overhauls, retcons, and changes over the years, with the major one being after these characters were introduced. In 2014, the League of Legends government body was removed. Now, with the events of League of Legends games being a figment of imagination, it's a thing that could happen. It's a hypothetical. What happens if a million bears versus the sun, whatever the fuck that hypothetical is? It's a billion lions versus the sun.
Yes, that's it.
That's the one.
It's a trillion.
A trillion lions. My apologies.
I think they got this.
I think they.
There's only one of the sun. You know?
There's only one of the sun. There's a trillion lions. You can't take them all. With this, while this left the game much more theoretical than before, it also unbound the writers from having to make every character have a need to join the League, which has become a much richer cast of characters, from gods to ancient heroes to just normal fucking people and diseased sewer rats. Speaking of the sewer rat, I saw a sewer rat deck a godlike star-creating space dragon in a game the other day, and it wasn't even close. Absolutely marvelous. Twitch versus Aurelion Sol.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
And the rat one.
And the rat won.
He would, though.
He would. He's an ADC versus a squishy mage. I'm fucking up.
Yeah.
Nah, I'd win.
A quick note, while the lore change was made in 2014, many of the character bios appear to have taken a year or two to be rewritten. Very unsurprising, as even then, League had around 145 characters. First, we go to Viktor's lore. My mouth dry as fuck. Viktor in 2014. First major note, Viktor has parents now. Viktor was the child of two artisans who encouraged the young man's interest in science and tech. He was a strong worker, but often had to move as they lived in the lower levels of Zorn, and accidents often occurred, chemical spills, gas clouds, and collapse. Viktor hated this, and after research discovered that most of it happened due to human error.
What? No.
Yeah. Viktor offered his services
That's
to various businesses around Zorn, managing to get a gig at a Chemforge where he reduced the number of accidents to 0 with his inventions. What exactly those were, not stated.
You know, one way, I think he replaced all the workers.
No
more workers,
no more workers, no more problems.
This is true.
He was then offered a position
Viktor, no.
at Zorn's College of Techmetallurgy as before, but here we now depart from the original lore. Professor Stanwyck Padidley from Piltover's Academy, the academy it's referred to, asked Viktor to move to take advantage of what Piltover could offer him. Thrilled to be singled out, Viktor accepted and moved, refining his craft and learning plenty. To quote, Viktor worked with Piltover's best and brightest, including an insufferable genius named Jayce.
It's so true.
Insufferable?
I love him, but he's
Yeah.
a bit insufferable.
I feel like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think what we get of him in the show isn't necessarily insufferable, but I think the character they've made him, if you were to meet him in real life, he would be a bit insufferable. You know what I mean?
I agree with that. As we now pivot to Jayce's new story. Again, as said, these two intertwine now. Jayce 2014. Quoting his first line, a native son of Piltover, Jayce was raised to believe in the principles that made their city great. Invention, discovery, not going to Zorn if you could help it.
Is that an actual
That's
line?
an actual line from his bio.
Damn.
My man is classist from day dot.
Damn.
Based?
You need to unplug his mic. I thought you were leaning over to unplug his microphone.
I was honestly tempted.
Jayce was great from the day he first took breath, and by God did he let everyone know it. He was the youngest apprentice ever offered patronage by Clan Giapara, Piltover rich folk, and was apparently, unlike Viktor, who was excited to be offered a position at the college, utterly unsurprised. He's a massive wanker.
Oh wow. My God, of course he is.
was, yeah.
Where we once had a plain
classic
but
rich kid little guy.
Yeah. Where we once had a plain but smart as fuck inventor, we now have a genius jackass. Jayce didn't get why people couldn't understand what he did and would not slow down to help them. This left him somewhat as a solo act, as funnily enough, people couldn't fucking stand him.
Yeah, wow.
There was only one person who was able to keep up with him, Viktor. Although whether he actually liked him is another question entirely.
Probably not.
Emerge story time. I've titled this part, The Boys Get to Work.
It's a bit similar. I don't know if you've seen The Social Network. Mark Zuckerberg and that.
Oh, that's that's the origins of Twitter, right?
Yeah, sure.
Jack Dorsey.
Meta. Which is a meta.
Yeah.
He's just like an insufferable prick and doesn't realize that he's being an insufferable prick the entire time.
But it also sucks more than that because he's actually smart, and that's the worst kind of insufferable prick.
Oh, yeah.
Jayce and Viktor pushed each other and often argued about their approaches. Where Jayce saw tools that could help people do more, Viktor wanted people to just be better. There's also a note here I haven't listed, but their laws were written at slightly different times, but not that far apart, and in one of them it says they weren't even friends. In one of them they said they were the closest that each other had to friends. I don't think these are strictly incompatible, but I think it shows, like, the only reason these guys work together is because everyone else fucking hated them.
Yeah.
It's like they were always the last picked.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter that they were the best in the class. They were the last picked in every single thing in that school because no one liked them. They had to group up together.
Jayce knew Viktor was good at heart, only wanting to save people from themselves, and Viktor knew that Jayce was an asshole, but he was also smart enough to be helpful, unlike their other colleagues. During this time, Viktor heard about a massive chem spill in Zorn, which threatened entire districts. Quick note. There's two different versions of this. This isn't mentioned in Jayce's lore, but Viktor's lore was written after it, so whether this is a retcon or whether this is just a thing that happened that Jayce didn't mention because Jayce, who knows. During the time of their study, Viktor heard about a massive chem spill in Zorn, which threatened entire districts. He returned home to help, building a sophisticated golem to assist in the cleaning. Blitzcrank, he's back again.
Yep.
We're back, baby.
During this time, I just started the same sentence again. Having contained the spill effectively, Blitz and Viktor remained in Zorn, trying to help those affected by the destruction. Curious line, their attempt was ultimately unsuccessful in preventing more deaths, and the two parted ways.
Oh.
What was Viktor up to? What was Viktor doing if he was a, genius scientist who had some knowledge of mechanical limbs and stuff like that, but he failed to prevent any deaths? Was it just that they were too far gone, or was it the fact that the experiments didn't help? I don't know. But I don't like the odds.
It is interesting. I assume Blitzcrank left because he's like, I don't like what you're doing.
No, Blitzcrank stayed in Zorn.
He's not left yet.
Sorry, Blitzcrank stayed in. When I say the two
the-
parted ways, Blitzcrank stayed in Zorn. Viktor went back to
left.
Piltover.
I see.
But Blitzcrank's with Jayce because Jayce and Viktor are parting ways.
No. Sorry. Viktor heard about the chem spills, went down. Jayce still in the college.
Yeah, Jason
Made Blitzcrank.
Sorry.
Blitzcrank help with cleanup spill. Blitzcrank leaves. Viktor go back to back to Piltover.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah.
Apologies. Viktor returned to Piltover only a few weeks later, only to find Professor Stanwyck Padiddly having taken credit for inventing Blitzcrank, presenting Viktor's research to the Academy as his own.
Oofed. What a guy.
Enraged and distraught, Viktor lodged complaints and begged Jayce to verify that was in fact his work. Jayce refused. Reason uncited.
Wow.
He's just an arsehole.
Well, he probably saw Padiddly as a leapfrog stepping stone if he became friendly with him.
He probably saw him as more helpful than Viktor, which is entirely real.
He's also a cunt, it seems like.
Yes, entirely true. Weird bit here. Jayce's lore was written before Viktor's. Viktor had this part happen before a thing that happened in Jayce's lore, so despite the fact that he's been spurned by his university and the person he's working with, he stays in Piltover. I suspect that that's a remnant of the fact that he still has to do the thing that he does in Jayce's story. Again, I'm speculating about how old is it? 8-year-old writing at this point, so who fucking knows?
JB not right now, I'll be honest.
JB not.
JB not.
Viktor returned to his studies believing his ultimate goal, to better people's lives and enhance humanity, was more important than his ego. He focused his ire on the human element, the fact that all flaws belong solely to the human involvement in any effort. Again, going back to Jayce's lore, this technically is in Viktor's, we're just remerging. This is where Jayce's then picks up after they started working together. That whole Zorn bit wasn't in Jayce's lore.
What's the professor's name again?
Stanwyck Padiddly.
P. Diddley?
P. Diddley.
Padiddly.
Okay,
Yes.
okay,
Yes.
Making sure about
Don't.
that. Just making sure about that.
Let's just be careful. It's Padiddly, not...
P. Diddley.
P. Diddley. Okay.
Yes. Any questions, any notes, any thoughts? Because I can roll right on,
he
baby.
really put Viktor on his villain arc, didn't he?
Yes. To be fair, Viktor was kind of already on it with his ideals, but he didn't help.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like some people need that push. You know?
Yeah.
What's that joke line? All you need is a push.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Jayce and Viktor then collaborated on their next project, a mechanical suit for Piltover's dock workers, which would make the user stronger while also not drowning them if they fell into the docks. A massive success, they rolled this out and began to work on the next version, which is where the final cracks in their relationship would show. Divers had reported seeing things at lower depths, which would often cause them to panic, consuming more oxygen, having to return to the surface, or at worst, causing damage and injuries as they try to escape. Viktor's vision for the new version included a chemtech implant placed into the worker, which would enhance their strength while also making them compliant, calm, and able to work for hours on end. They could effectively be puppeteered by their bosses, the dock owners. As human error was often the cause of the accidents, Viktor surmised that removing that variable was the best option.
Yeah.
So Jayce is like, we need to build machines to do this. And Viktor's like, let's just make the people machine.
But listen, the only problem we're having with this sick fucking machine we made is the fact that there's a guy in there who keeps panicking and fucking our shit
but
up.
Instead of taking the guy out of there and putting in like a machine, we're going to make the guy a robot.
Yeah, it makes sense.
We're going to take away the means of production, take away the will from the workers, make them little more than ants.
Which is an interesting angle, considering the fact that Viktor came
Mindless,
from Zorn, arguably the most exploited people in this area.
Yep.
And he's like, actually, I think that the bosses should be entirely in charge of the humans. Because that way, less people would die. They might not be able to do anything because they're so fucking high on chemtech. But they'd be safer.
Yeah.
Damn, he really on that. If you that villain arc.
Exactly. Jayce obviously had issues with this, as we figured out. He reported Viktor to the Academy, stripping him of his honors and ostracizing him from the Piltover society. Viktor returned to his personal lab in Zorn, where he grew isolated and day by day more obsessive over his goal. Jayce found a similar fate, studying in solitude, although not quite as manic as Viktor was, obviously. First, we'll follow Jayce. We again find him being given this strange crystal for study, Hextech, and after other scientists failed to find a use for it, fun fact, Jayce found out about the crystal and was like, ooh, gimme, you gotta give it to me, to his, like, sponsors, and the sponsors were like, you're being a dickhead, I'm gonna give it to someone else. The other scientists had a go at it for, like, a couple months, couldn't figure it out, they're like, this shit's useless. Jayce is like, can I have it now? They give it to him. Turns out it's, like, the most powerful energy source they've ever had.
It turns out if you're not a dick, people have better, like, people will give you things, and then things will happen better for you. Like, eventually you might get a fucking good chance because you're so fucking smart, but, like, if he wasn't a dick in the first place,
he might be able to, get away with it. Jayce, for the first time ever during this project, had trouble with his project, realizing why so many hated the way that he worked. It sucked not to understand. But despite not understanding, they persisted, and in this moment, Jayce seems to have discovered a small sliver of respect towards his co-workers.
Damn.
Which,
that's crazy.
Are we showing him as a good guy? What the fuck are you talking
Now?
about? Now?
I mean,
well, Viktor starts as a good guy and becomes a villain, and Jayce starts as a dick who becomes a good guy.
Victor's like, oh, these people are being exploited and dying. This is horrible. So I need to take away all their fucking will and make them work harder, and they'll never die.
Yeah.
And then Jayce went, none of these are real people. These are all like mindless drones in my way. And then they're like, wait a sec.
They all keep working even though they don't understand things.
Wow.
That's cool.
He's
really cool.
He's such a condescending
He's such a moron.
Oh, no, he's just
He's a smart moron. We've been over this concept before.
Yeah. Oh, what a guy.
Smart morons. Yeah, what are they like?
Who fucking knows, man?
I feel like I'm in a sandwich.
No, we're morons who are smart.
Soon as mentioned, Jayce proved that even a shard of the crystal held massive potential energy. During an experiment, he caused a massive explosion, power rippling out from the crystal that he was working on. He continued working on it, trying to figure out how to harness it properly, excited at his progress, but was interrupted by someone arriving on his doorstep. It was Viktor Arcane! We then pivot quickly to where we left Viktor off as he departs Piltover. When Viktor returned to Zorn, he had time to be introspective. Why was he so distraught? Why did this man who believed human emotions and error to be the cause of so many problems allow himself to be consumed by them? Not anymore. He realized that he would have to take the path that he wanted others to follow, and proceeded to be his own first step, replacing the majority of his body with mechanical augmentations.
Hell yeah. Cyborg.
Yeah. With his new body also came a change in perspective. He was no longer looking at making society a better place. While humans were still emotional creatures, there would always be fear, laziness, anger, and distrust. He needed to make society better by making people better. They needed to evolve. Thus began, again, Viktor's glorious evolution.
Oh, no.
Yeah. He offered free prosthetics to the people of Zorn. People who had lost arms in chem spills, went blind from the grey that filled the chasms, although the procedure was obviously not without some costs, but if you were desperate, you rarely had another choice. We also get a little bit of elaboration on his acolytes here. Some in Zorn, hearing fragments of his philosophy and seeing the successes of his work, saw him as a messianic figure. Viktor couldn't care less for them, viewing their quasi-religious cult as an aberration, yet another reason to eliminate emotional foibles and the belief in that which could not be empirically proven. Victor's original followers were super fucking annoying to Viktor because they're like, "You're saving us. You're like Jesus," and he's like, "Shut the fuck up. Get out of my way. I'm bettering society here." And then Chab walked off.
He's the chosen one. I'm not the chosen one.
Yeah.
He's just a very naughty boy.
He is a very
mechanical boy. Very shiny boy.
Yeah.
Very shiny. Sometime later, another terrible chemical accident occurred, causing many people to become, quote, rabid psychotics, the toxins eating away at their brains. Viktor could slow but not stop this process by opening their heads and inserting filters to clean their bloods.
I honestly thought Viktor would be excited about that shit.
Excited about the spill?
Yes, it's fucking with people's brains. Isn't he all about that?
No, not at all. No, he wants to help people. He wants them to not have to fall to emotion. Psychoticness is an expression of anger. It's an expression of the sort of emotion. And if that's being dysregulated, then it's another issue to be fixed.
So he wants to infect people's brains with hashtag the right way. His way.
Yeah, well, he doesn't want to infect them. He wants to fix them. He wants them to evolve past, being affected by chemicals and shit like that.
Does he have a brain?
Debatably, yeah. It's integrated with Hextech somehow. But yeah, he has a brain.
I see.
He's a cyborg man.
Does he have Hextech?
Does he have Hextech?
Yeah.
How define what you mean by Hextech?
Well, we said that Jayce has the crystal right now, and he's just messing with it. He didn't Viktor leave before Jayce
Viktor did leave before that. So this is one of the notes which I'll get to later, but one of the major differences between Viktor Arcane and Viktor Original Lore. Viktor Original Lore was not a mage. 0% magic. He was just really, really, really fucking good with tech.
I see.
To the point that he could rebuild body parts.
Yeah.
No magic involved. Chemtech, debatably, he is a Zornite, and it is mentioned that he used Chemtech before.
Yeah.
But Chemtech is essentially just chemical engineering.
Yeah.
He's just doing more engineering.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
No, it's good. No. I was just saying, like, Viktor Nation. Instead of Viktor Nation, how are you feeling? It's Viktor Nation, fuck off. I don't want to...
Viktor Nation, I do not care for you. Stop getting in my way.
Go away.
Yeah, basically.
Viktor could slow but not stop the process of the toxins eating away at their brains. Without enhancing his machines, he would not be able to save these people. And right on time, he detects a massive spike in energy from Piltover, coming from Jayce's lab. In the original lore, Viktor asks for Jayce's help. As in the original lore, same as. Viktor asks for Jayce's help. Jayce refuses. They fight. Viktor escapes with the crystal. Same deal.
Yeah.
Viktor began saving people, having a golem at the ready to receive their brains should their bodies give out. Very Cyberman style.
Yeah.
Damn.
Jayce awoke hours after the fight to only find the small shard of crystal he had been experimenting on, left behind by his mad colleague, the rest of the crystal being taken. He quickly installed this into his hammer, the Mercury hammer, as before, and set off into Zorn. The crystal was drawn towards the rest of itself, which is how Jayce finds Viktor's lab, or more accurately at this point, lair. He described what Viktor was so quick to brush over the details of. Quote, dozens of corpses, their skulls sawn open and hollowed out, their brains transplanted into an army of immobile metal soldiers hooked up to a now pulsating crystal.
Yeah, Viktor Nation, how are we feeling?
Viktor Nation, the grand evolution. We're going to take your fucking brain out.
So, he's making the Matrix, is what I'm seeing.
I mean, if these people were really in a bad state, he could be doing them a favor. Think about it.
Mm-hmm.
If you didn't know what a surgeon was doing, and you walked into someone doing open heart surgery, you would be like, "This is a fucking horrible person, serial killer. Like this is you are cutting them open, breaking their bones, and then messing around with their organs, right?" So I feel like, yeah, he's probably not in the wrong, but Jayce doesn't know what he's doing.
Oh yeah, in that sense, yeah. I mean, I would argue that the fact that he's like trapping them in mobile machines of prisons.
I'm not saying he's
I'd
the
say
good
that's
guy.
probably worse than coming to a post-heart surgery person.
I would not want to be a mindless drone robot, but if I had chemical spill damage to my entire body, and someone said I can put you in a robot, put your brain in a robot, I'd consider it.
Yeah. There is an interesting argument, and one of the reasons that people were disappointed that original Viktor's lore disappeared is that there was a lot of how do you say, like, moral complexity between the two of them. Victor is ultimately trying to help people.
Yeah.
He's just insane.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
fair. That's
100%.
fair. Whereas
And he believes that the next step in human evolution is to become machines. So, obviously, it's just what needs to happen.
Yeah.
Who's a better person? Someone who's trying to do good and doing evil, or someone who doesn't give a shit at all and just does what they want to do? That's what Jayce is doing.
Exactly.
Jayce doesn't give a shit about anyone.
So, yeah, Jayce only reacts once he finds out that his crystal's been stolen. He wouldn't be down there otherwise.
Are there any mentions of why Jayce did the things like on the pier? Like if he did it for like he cared about the people on the pier and wanted to do
His
it?
entire family were, I don't know if that's from 2014 lore, but his family were tool makers. It was part of his sort of heritage that he made tools and stuff.
Is he just doing it because he's smart and showing off?
Pretty
and
much.
Like, thinks like, or does he do it because to help people? Like, is that?
I mean, technically,
his
to
intention
help,
is interesting.
He's looking to help people, but his entire time he's doing it, he's showing off and being very showy, prideful. A person who publicly does charity is still doing charity. The intention is to the person themselves. There is not a direct mention of what Jayce's thoughts are at this time. He probably believes 100% this is how you do good. Is he also showing it off constantly and leaving his other researchers behind, not sharing his necessary like parts of the advancement? Where does that fall?
I think it's very interesting. A moral dilemma between someone who is doing good not for good reasons and someone who is doing bad for good reasons is an interesting dynamic.
Whereas you see the Arcane version, like there's not really a lot of points that we would say that Victor. Anyway, we'll get to that in a minute. We'll get to that discussion finally. Yeah. Jayce attempts to make amends with his old colleague, trying to make him see the reality of what he was doing. But to Victor, Jayce was another human element faulty, a flaw in the system. He commanded his army of robots to kill him. So, again, not necessarily alive.
If someone broke into my house, I'd probably send my army of robots to kill. No,
but also the army of robots are the people he saved, big quotes. More complication, nonetheless. Jayce disappeared under a pile of metal bodies before bursting out, sprinting towards the crystal, and again destroying it. The warehouse collapsed around them, and Jayce fled, unable to even consider what had just happened. Upon telling his sponsor of what Victor was doing, he was hailed as a hero for his quick thinking, and given a new nickname, the Defender of Tomorrow. Victor's body was never found. The Herald of the Machine Evolution...
So he's not dead.
The Herald of the Machine Evolution escaped deeper into Zorn, only more convinced of his plan as Jayce's fear of what he did not understand had ended the lives of dozens of innocent Zornites in Victor's eyes.
Yeah.
He busied himself with his work, redoubling his efforts again to bring about the glorious evolution.
Yeah, damn.
So, what's the issue? With Arcane redoing the story again, we've now heard where the story has come from. You may be wondering, what's the problem, Victor fans? Why all this fuss? It's essentially the same story, in a sort of way. They work together, both geniuses, both apart from their peers. They find an evolution of their technology which would put them on a much greater path, and they have disagreements about how it should be used. And eventually Jayce smashes through Victor's camp and blows everything up.
You kinda.
Yeah, it's got the same story beats. It's just changed the structure. It's changed the dressing. It's kind of like it's almost it's taken it and it's almost like Ship of the Theseus did, you know? It's like
how many parts have to be there for it to be the original story?
Yeah,
the new one.
The intention is very different. A lot of the intention is very different, I think. And the relationships are quite different. If I accidentally it's the difference between murder and manslaughter. You know what I mean? You get the same result. But, like, it's different. It's very different. It's a different crime. It's like Jayce being a good person who's trying to do good and keeps fucking up in Arcane and, like, trying to make the best choice and keeps making the fucking worst choice sometimes. And Victor going, like, no, we got to do this. And then kind of accidentally falling down this rabbit hole of the Hex Core. Jesus, yeah. And trying to do good in doing that, he's definitely not. I think it's that part's still there. So there is a lot there, but I also think some people who liked Victor went, I like Machine Boy. Where'd Machine Boy go?
So, after
Yeah.
doing some research into the subreddit, trawling Victor Main's subreddit was a surprising experience because they're actually kind of chill now, kind of. There's like half the community that's still really mad about it, and the other half are like, guys, if we keep being really fucking aggro, we're going to scare off all the Arcane fans who are making Victor popular.
Yeah.
So, let's chill out.
I heard Victor's like one of the most annoying people right now in game. Like,
Oh,
you see him
yeah.
a ton,
Well, I
and
mean,
he's
his
really-
kit was kind of always busted in a good way, but he got a buff and some other things and
Yeah.
more people playing
He-
him.
Victor and Jayce in game, if I can chuck in a quick aside.
Yeah, go.
In comparison to other characters in the show, like, Vi, Caitlyn, Jinx, and Echo,
Mhm.
even Warwick to an extent, I feel like you can watch Arcane and then play the game, and they feel like they're doing the same
Mhm.
move set, and you see Jinx using like a little gadgets that she uses in the game,
Yep.
etc. Jayce and Victor, especially Victor, there's just nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like every single ability, move, and power that Victor has in game is like nothing even close to what you see him like in the show,
Mm-hmm.
which is really interesting. It was one thing that I didn't quite get why they did that.
In my summary of the points that Victor Main subreddit made, you guys have actually managed to nail 2 out of 3.
Mm.
First, Victor lost his tech angle. Where he was once a brilliant engineer whose only interaction with magic was to harness it with cold, hard steel, he's now, as one commenter put it, just another world-ending mage, which there's like 6 of.
Mm.
I
Yeah?
can see that, yeah.
Yeah,
There's
I
a
would-
lot
I
of
wouldn't
mages in
call-
Runeterra.
I wouldn't call him a mage full stop, but I can understand how he gets very biological at the biotech at the end
Mhm.
more than tech itself. Yeah.
one thing that I would point as well, I'm not sure if this is nothing you're going to touch on,
Go.
at least in my understanding and remembrance of the show from a month ago,
Mm-hmm.
for what you've described at the previous lore,
Mhm.
everything that happened to Victor was himself and his own creation.
Mhm.
Whereas there's much more of an argument in Arcane that it was Jayce doing it to him.
Yes.
Jayce made him the tech hybrid monster. Jayce then exploded him and turned him more tech.
I wouldn't
There's a lot
say-
more
I
like...
wouldn't say Jayce did that, but the Arcane
No, not
will.
specifically Jayce,
lo-
but like Jayce dragged his corpse. Oop, Steve died.
Steve died!
Steve just died and I said everybody.
Oh, keep
Minecraft is cancelled.
Steve from Minecraft is dead.
And then Guy,
Guy
I think
died as
Guy
well.
just followed.
Holy shit, Guy's
Um,
died.
But in a sense of like the way it's described to us in that lore, Victor experiments on himself and builds himself to be the tech cyborg dude.
Yeah, like
In essence,
it was always.
Whereas, sorry, let me finish.
Yeah, sorry.
Whereas in Arcane, it's very clear that Jayce drags Victor's body and goes, "I must preserve his life," and drags him into the fucking arc thing, the gate thing, and like pushes the hex tech into him in that sense. I don't know. It's just that's a very big change, I think.
I could disagree with that in a little bit because he does do the stuff in season 1 where he makes his leg move or something.
Yeah, that's true.
But again, it is a bit accidental. His blood
Yeah.
drops into it. So I think he does like come around to it eventually. He's like, you did me a favor, Jayce. I
Mhm.
reacted badly.
He does.
But I think in my brain, like the original Victor's brain didn't want any of that. Like Victor was like, this Arcane is good, but it's dangerous. We need to keep it under control. Once he was infected by the core,
Mhm.
he like barely was Victor at that point. He'd lost most of Victor.
Mm.
And we saw Victor come back at the end in those spiritual things when he's learning the spiritual. But most of what Victor was he's been influenced by the Arcane, and basically magic incarnate is influencing him.
Yeah.
So like
yeah.
maybe you could just say he's gone insane and this is a decision he's made to help people, turn them into these machine people. Do you think he even realized what he was doing? Like he wanted to turn people into machines and that was a better way?
In the original lore?
In Arcane.
In Arcane, debatably, probably not. I
Yeah.
don't think that he fully understood. Which is another thing, is loss of agency. In the original
Yeah.
lore, he had a dream from a child.
Yes.
He rebuilt himself, which it is
Yeah.
described as him doing the surgery himself. So at
Yeah.
every moment there, he's deliberately implanting stuff. Whereas a lot of Arcane is just kind of like, yeah, he was in the little chrysalis thing and now he's a robot man.
Like, don't get me
Yeah.
wrong. I love Victor in Arcane. I think the story is really good. I actually really like Victor's story. And especially the stuff
same.
that doesn't always... Hey, like, again, you're taking away some of his agency, I agree. But I think it's also like it's a beautifully sad, tragic story of him falling to the very thing he would be against originally. But whereas I think it's a very different story. Whereas this Viktor obviously always knew that, and he had that agency from the start. So I think that I can see why he feels like a different character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So lost his tech angle. He's now just another world-ending mage. So that's first point was that tech and agency angle.
Yeah.
Second, Viktor's main existing issues were much more around his in-game kit as well, both because it needed fixing and didn't reflect his lore. His rework did nothing to change this, and didn't add any lore-accurate abilities, such as puppeteering or enhancing his allies, which is still true in Arcane. It basically was just kind of a small buff to his ult because they kind of figured like, oh, people will be mad if we change the kit too much, because it's after talking to a bunch of pros, they were like,
what does he do in the game?
His main abilities are a laser beam. The little robot arm thing he has is like a laser beam.
Does he have that at the very end in Arcane?
Yes.
Okay.
Has the full Arcano tech like brain head
yes,
split
he does have that
version,
beam. And then Jayce blocks it. Yeah.
He has a I'm going to be spit on
force field
trap. Yeah, a little electrical field that slows you and stuns you if you stay in it too long.
Okay, we never see that.
Yep.
That's not
and also a electro bolt attack that is just kind of like a seeking projectile that just does some damage.
What's his ult?
His ultimate is called something storm, and it's a big like electrical storm that chases you, and it gets bigger.
So 3 things we never see in
Correct.
Arcane.
We never see any. Well, we see the beam.
You see the beam.
But also, how does that fit with his design? Like, it doesn't seem like a
they
thing.
Put his W in or whatever.
Exactly. Well, but also, like, the only reason
dubs.
they made for him to have that in original lore, in Arcane Season 1, is that he made the little robot arm to show to Heimerdinger with the text tech display. To grab for people to use it in, like, mining or whatever. But also, and there's the little laser beam thing, and it's like, okay, so that's the excuse for it ending up on his final perfected arcane. Like, at that point, he's fucking manipulating reality.
He was supposed to be.
Why does he have a laser beam?
It was supposed to be for like cutting minerals, wasn't it?
Yeah,
cutting things. So again, he lost that thing. He left that thing in the lab, and then he suddenly, when he goes into that big orb thing, he gets it back.
Yeah, it feels.
Yeah.
None of the stuff that is from either his original lore or his new lore are reflected in his kit. And that was kind of the problem that people had originally, but also Riot tried to consult a bunch of Viktor pros on his kit and how they could rework it. But also, obviously, the people who are pros with Viktor like his kit.
Don't want to change it, yeah.
So...
But I can also see that is that's a pillar of your community. You don't want to piss them off either. So I see that.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, it is a shame to me because the abilities that were just described could so easily have done those things in
the
Arcane.
show. Yeah,
he could have had the little fucking trap thing that he throws down. That could have been, he could have used that to like trap Jayce for a moment in their fight and been like, now Jayce, we must talk now that you have my attention or whatever. Like, chuck him in there.
There's good options.
He could have had like a big Voldemort moment and sent like a big electrical storm out, you know. I'm thinking like Order of Phoenix, you know, when he's fighting Dumbledore.
The Electrogasm.
Yeah.
And then the final point that neither of you managed to touch on, which is unfortunate because it's delightful, they twinkified him. Yeah. Where he was once a imposing figure with a cloak and a metal mask, he is now, as, again, some people put it, a skinny, vaguely
people can't be mad about that.
Sexualized, but they are 100%.
They're mad that he's a twin. Why are people so mad that these ridiculously huge okay, Viktor isn't that bad, to be fair. Viktor was like a normal human being, and they did make him skinny and stuff. That's because we never see him eat once. But I've seen these people are so mad that they made this really big character that's ridiculously big in one of the art thing, and they made him like a normal structure. If they made that in the animation, he would look ridiculous. Ridiculous.
Counterpoint, there are massive characters in League.
Yeah.
There are a lot of massive characters in League.
There are also a lot of massive characters in Arcane.
If everyone's massive, no one is. You know what I mean?
I do...
Needs to be scale. We need scale.
Secondary point, addenda to this third point, is if you'll jump to the next image, they also failed to capture his Arcane version in his in-game model.
Yeah.
It looks, to quote another person, like a Temu version of Arcane Viktor.
I was going to say...
That's strange.
Honestly, looking at... I wouldn't have said what has been said about, like, oh no, they twinkified him in Arcane. But honestly, if that was what my character now looked like in-game, I'd be a little bit disappointed. I can like that doesn't look like Arcane.
Yeah,
That just
I
looks
would not
shit.
mind if it looked like Viktor Arcane, but that is not.
That looks awful.
If you show me that, I wouldn't think that was Viktor.
Yeah. And this is what
You can see the comparison
It doesn't
between
look like it at
actual
all.
Arcane
Shocking.
Victor. We'll link these in the
Also,
description.
why is his thing he's wearing not blue like the blanket that Jayce gave him?
Mhm.
And that's also my cutest thing about that he's wearing the blanket.
There's a lot of small details. His body horror face split open is super not obvious and also kind of janky.
It's not. No, it's not obvious. It's not there.
No, it is there. You just have to see it from the right angle. It's kind of stupid. It's like way down. Oh, it's because of the direction that he's facing right now. If you go, think back to the other image, there's more evidence of it. But anyway, didn't capture his thing. They twinkified him. So the people who like the old bulky version didn't get what they wanted. The people who like the new Arcane version don't like it.
Yeah. Nah.
Okay, no, you still can't see it. They're both forward facing. I promise you the face is there. It's just really not obvious.
Fair.
So all of these concerns, while overstated by some members of the community, there are always going to be those people that'll go a little bit further than most, are entirely valid, as we've discussed here. There's no sign of the Master of Engineering he once was. Like, he's shown to be technically proficient, but he's not the version of him that we got in original lore. He, still does not have the in-game ability to enhance or control others, despite it carrying over to new lore.
Yeah.
And, he's a twink. For my 2 cents, I do like the new design in terms of Arcane.
Yes.
The old version was very obviously, now that I say it, you may get it, a Doctor Doom ripoff, which was causing some copyright issues.
Yeah.
With
was
the
it
big
actually causing issues?
Not that I'm aware of, but if you're going to make a TV show, an MMO, and a bunch of other stuff, you might as well make it distinct enough that you don't have to worry about it.
Especially with Doctor Doom coming to the MCU.
Especially also big metal face, metal, like there's lots of parts of it that are very Doctor Doom, and a lot of his older splash art are quite similar.
Yeah,
maybe. From that image, I don't see it because Doctor Doom is literally just wearing a plate armor with a face mask.
Victor splash art for me, Jude. Pull that image up. I feel like Joe Rogan.
what's his thing? What's
the
person?
Jim? Can you pull up a gorilla? Jim, can you grab that
I don't know what it is.
picture of a gorilla? Yeah, this thing's fucking ripped.
like that. Like this one especially is super Doctor Doom. In my opinion,
that's the original version.
I guess I see it, but he's not. As a Doctor Doom stan, he's not a robot. He's a guy wearing medieval plate armor that he built himself with a bunch of ancient artifacts.
With a bunch of scraps in a cave!
No, one thing, a fun fact about Doctor Doom, in his armor is a splinter of the cross that Jesus got crucified on.
Are you fucking with
me? To protect him from vampires.
Jesus, man.
That's brilliant. Victor wishes he could be that cool.
I know, right? And if you want more lore tidbits like that, you can go to our Patreon because we're releasing more lore tidbits.
We are doing more lore tidbits. But yes, old version, very obviously Doctor Doom. Well, not very obviously. Yep. It was a Doctor Doom ripoff by the fact that a lot of the old characters do kind of pull from a lot of popular figures. There's a Splinter Cell character I've mentioned before, Master Yi. There's a couple of other ones. But although his manic evolution through technology niche was amazing, his new version is also still unique amongst the cast in that a lot of the other world-ending mages are a guy who's on fire and what else? A Yordle who's crazy. Like, there's not a lot of... His exact niche is still unique. Mm-hmm. The downside, as many Victor mains will be quick to point out, as mentioned as well, is that the design from Arcane is not reflected in the game. The model fails to capture the epic magical aesthetic, does not show off the mask in all of its body horror perfection, and is overall just disappointing.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
I don't know, weird. I always got he looks a bit of like a deer face, like
a what?
Deer, like a human deer face. I don't know.
Sure. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. But
the animal deer.
I know what a deer is. I just don't see it.
Does he though?
I don't know. Maybe it's me.
With that all being said, I also do still have some massive respect for the writer who in both 2014 and Arcane managed to keep the story beats intact somehow, with Jayce and Victor working together, butting heads, the heroic presentation of Jayce despite some weird acts, and the vilification of Victor despite his noble intent. The fact that while he was saving people, he was also leaving them empty puppets, which is carried on through to Arcane with the empty-headed angel things we get towards the end. And the fact that at the end of all of it, Jayce still comes into Victor's hideout and blows everything up.
Yeah.
It's sad to see the old version of the characters disappear, and it's pretty unforgivable that Riot failed to make a classic version of Victor for a skin in the game. There are some characters that have classic versions that preserve their original skins. but they didn't do it for Viktor, which,
Really?
again,
Oh,
is
shit.
one of those things that the Viktor
So you
mains are
can
like,
just-
you could have at least left us something, but instead they redid every single skin to match the new aesthetic, changed his base skin,
Wow.
and left no option for those who love that aesthetic.
Damn, I didn't realize.
There's one that's vaguely close, but it's not there. They're not.
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons as well, is we can't even have him anymore. But if you truly love old Viktor and wish that he was still here, write fan fiction. Or make fan art, or just simply accept the fact that selling twinks is more profitable for Riot Games.
Yeah, this is true. This is true.
They love sexy characters and they got to cover their bases. And
You can be
Viktor
sexy and
Arcane.
not be a twink.
Huh?
You can be sexy.
Yeah,
and
but
not-
they've got
plenty of buff
they've got a
dudes.
lot of.
They got a lot of
Yeah.
buff dudes.
Yeah, that's true. You're not wrong there.
Unfortunately.
You wouldn't believe the bears they've got.
They literally got bears, don't
Yeah, body
I
bear.
they? He's my favorite bear.
mean, yeah, Gragas is sexy
I
as
was
fuck.
gonna. I was literally picturing Gragas in my mind.
Gragas hot
Oh, wow.
boy. Yeah.
Big man.
You like a bear, Matt?
No.
No, not this one.
I mean, you want to fight a polar bear, apparently. But
Final, very quick optional notes, because I forgot to write these in the main script, and we've got like 2 minutes of time.
Sure.
Final notes. Professor Pedidley does reappear in Arcane. Season 1,
nice.
episode 4. Right at the start, apparently he died before Arcane. So
there you go.
they kept the character, didn't make him associated with Viktor's lore or anything else,
Sure.
but he's framed as a way of Heimerdinger handing the reins to Viktor in the scene, because it's the scene where Heimerdinger says to Jayce, no, not to Viktor, to Jayce, I said that wrong, but handing the reins to Jayce by offering him the Progress Day speech that Heimerdinger always gives. It's a point in the original one that's where Jayce makes his first speech. And the point that is directly before that is them looking at a statue of Professor Pedidley saying, everything he built blew up, exploded, melted, or just didn't work. But what he did right was focus on his students and the potential that they represented. He became a teacher, not
and
a...
steal all their shit.
Which, listen, if he's anything like his original incarnations, that is not character assassination. That is the opposite of character assassination. That is somehow aggrandizing this fucking freak.
Hey, it's not aggrandizing. Even in the original thing, everyone thought he was a really good genius, and we just didn't know.
We didn't know they were still.
Heimerdinger thought he was a genius.
Yeah, Professor Pedidley does not deserve his statue in Arcane Season 1. Second note, Blitzcrank, similar vein, 2014
Ask,
overhaul.
where the fuck is my robot boy?
Blitzcrank in 2014 overhaul failed to had his 2014 overhaul, was mentioned during the chemical spill down there. His story plays out very similarly, where he gains his own consciousness, but instead of petitioning for his own independent thing, he just roams Zorn and fucks shit up, because he deduces correctly that the problem with chem spills and everything else isn't the workers, isn't, the environment. It's the fact that the chem factories are there, so he just blows them up, which we covered that in one of the original League episodes.
I think it was in your predictions episode you talked about Blitzcrank a whole bunch.
Likely. You should listen to all of them so you can find it. Yes?
I love him. He's so close to the solution, but he decided to blow it all up.
He's right. If there's no more factory, people can't get hurt in the factory.
Yeah, damn right.
I love him. He's so good.
He probably wrote emails to all of the workers beforehand saying, hey, don't come into work tomorrow.
Come into work tomorrow. No, Blitzcrank.
However, as we mentioned, he failed to appear in Arcane. The writers defend that adding him to Arcane didn't add anything to the story, didn't match the tone, and it was already overcomplicated. But this makes lore nerds like me upset, because where does he fit now? He's Arcanotech, so he's like a steam golem. When was he made? Was it during the period before Hextech and it's just not mentioned? I would think that an intelligent robot that Viktor made would be mentioned, but at the point that Viktor goes to Hextech mode, he would then be sort of like a flesh magic weird thing like we see the rest of his invocations being, which Blitzcrank in-game is not. He's fucking neon yellow. This man is made of metal. That's not debatable. So where's Blitzcrank? There's no answer to this. This doesn't resolve.
I have an answer.
Go.
They just aren't going to put him in.
Well, they've said specifically, the rewrite is ongoing and they're making efforts for it. My fear/suspicion is that he's going to be in the MMO as like a side quest in Zorn, which it'll be like, oh, I was mad. There's also, random secondary side tangent from the side tangent. His original Color Story had him speaking full English sentences, which freaks me the fuck out. I don't like that.
Victor, I've learned English, Victor. I'm here.
He's literally riding an elevator. The elevator breaks. Blitzcrank climbs out, grabs the top of it, and grabs a bar and just saves everyone inside. That's the story.
Based.
It's a whole story. He's just based.
I do have one solution for you.
Yes.
We know that Victor was in Zorn.
Mm-hmm.
We know that there were accidents. We know that there were like mine accidents. Like we know there were bad stuff. We know that Heimerdinger picked up Victor from Zorn and now is working as his assistant.
Mm-hmm.
How do you think he got noticed?
True.
He made Blitzcrank.
Hey, that's not
got
bad.
noticed by Victor. Victor went up to Piltover and Blitzcrank went, fuck off, and left.
So Blitzcrank, a fully sentient creature, was abandoned by its creator.
Yes.
Maybe
I think he chose to
This is
left.
how Frankenstein started.
Yes, exactly that. Yes.
What is Blitzcrank but Frankenstein, though?
You can't real for
That's
that.
the whole point.
No, he's Frankenstein's monster.
Yes, Victor Frankenstein.
Yeah, but Victor's Frankenstein.
Yes, Victor is Frankenstein.
Because it's Victor Frankenstein.
Victor is literally Victor. I also realized that the reason Doctor Doom they might be more mad is because his name is Victor Von Doom as well.
That also would do it. Yeah.
So Victor.
How's Victor Von Doom spelled?
It's not spelled. It's spelled with a C, I believe.
Okay, I was going to say because if it's a K, then that's just full on fucking copyright infringement.
It's not the exact same.
Yeah, interesting.
So yeah,
final.
I just don't think we should allow people named Victor to do science.
That's true.
Is that too much to ask?
It is, yes. Finally, final note. While old lore has a veneer of nostalgia to it, through reading these particular versions, I do believe that some are being blinded by said nostalgia. The old lore is conflicted on why Jayce and Victor split, even less than a year after the lore rewrite. There's just conflicts and things that don't make sense and characters that are in two places at once and don't follow the timeline. League lore is deep and rich and wonderful and so fucking full of plot holes, it's not even funny. So you just have to kind of go along with it, and the fact that they're trying to do another rewrite, you can either take seriously and fully absorb yourself into it and, you know, take advantage of the fact that they're making new IPs from all this stuff, or cope. That's the end of my script.
Yeah.
Any questions?
That was good.
I think there's no point in getting mad about retcons, except if they're gonna redo Sonic in the Sonic movie. That was the one time that I was like, "You guys did it, guys. You guys were mad, and they changed their ways." So like, there's an example of it working. But once you've already completed the whole of Arcane story, they're not going to go back on it. So
yeah. They've specifically said that all future versions, all future incarnations of all things are canon.
You still have the old stuff, but like, you can't play as.
But also the writers all got fired like 2 years ago, and also Riot Forge, the indie game studio, doesn't exist anymore. They cancelled that because it wasn't making money.
Yeah.
So guys, I think that the foundations were crumbling before we even got here.
I think there might have been, yeah.
We've seen this coming for a while. But, you know, you can see coming is our next episodes by subscribing and following the podcast, and you can see more coming by rating us 5 stars, and each star you give us is another character that's not going to get retconned that you like. It's going to stay there forever, and they'll always make new content for it, I promise.
Every star out of 5 you give us is the number of acolytes that will follow you around praising you.
I do need 5 guys behind me, just like...
Imagine a 5-man cheer score would be awesome.
5 guys. Yeah, that's fair. The number of stars you rate us is the number of more friends you have from Victor and Jayce. They got no friends.
They got one friend, kind of, each other.
No, we literally, that's said in the law.
True.
Only in Arcane are they friends. They were close to friends, but not friends.
Yeah.
They are not friends. So you got friends. And if you do have friends, because I know you do, tell your friends about this podcast.
Yeah. Do you want to tell them about some of our friends that are podcaster patrons of the Patreon world that enjoy
I would have
the
parasocially defined these as our friends. They're our law keepers.
I message them more than most people in my life.
That's true. They could be our friends.
Don't start this. We can't be parasocial with these people.
So true.
We love you guys, but we don't want to encourage parasocial relationships.
Thank you so much to our law keepers, Bong the Bard, Josh from Maine, and Shadow. Those are prestige law keepers. Thank you so much. And thank you to our novice law keepers, Blitz Bandit, Dan Dubs, Josh from Norway, Jacob from Norway,
Yo,
and Josh 2. Loading Name, Luke Nukem, The Recluse, Tiani Wilson, and Uranian Games.
Yeah.
Thank you so much to all of you.
Woo, woo, woo.
And you can join today to get extra content and to help keep us doing what we're doing.
Yeah. And no matter what you are, you can join our Discord and join in the chats.
Fuck
No matter what you are.
Well, if you're a patron or not.
Yeah.
But if you join the Discord and you're not a
dog, you
patron,
can join the Discord.
No matter if you're from Piltover or Zorn, no matter if you're a robot boy.
not Zorn.
Wow.
Classism. Let's go.
Dude's consistent in his classism. If you're a robot boy or a hex tech zombie.
Mm-hmm.
Come onto the Discord and tell the other guys I need to make another League episode. Spam it.
No.
Give it to me.
Do not.
Give me permission. I'll cover the magic systems, I promise.
I think
half of
guys' episodes are League episodes. At this
Yes, because I actually actively follow the law and don't just have to do research for the thing.
Yes. Yes, and you can also jump on the Discord and bully me when I forget to ask questions, which is pretty important.
Wow. Yeah, so true.
Yeah.
So true. Get bullied. Get bullied.
Yeah.
If you're not on Discord, but you are in the Arcane universe, and as Viktor wakes up on a new day, still feeling emotions he does not want to feel, I can't say good morning because Guy has something else to say.
No, I'm saying this pivot is like Tokyo drifting, pivoting so hard. Come on, baby, turn the car.
Good morning.
And as Jayce walks away from the bed, putting the dressing gown back on, looks over his shoulder, and just says, "Good afternoon."
Wow.
You didn't mean anything to him.
Wow.
And
holy shit, there's a fucking go.
You, in a totally non-sexual bromance, as cited by the writer, ascend to arcane heaven. We say sayonara, Victor Nation.
Sayonara, Victor Nation.
How we feeling?
JB not?
Genuinely, content of Arcane versus content of the memes, pretty in line with each other.
Yeah.
So good.
Both amazing.
Yeah.
Definitely one of the series of all time.
Definitely.
No! Thank you for listening to Living by the Law. If you enjoyed our podcast, please leave a review, tell your friends, and if you're feeling extra generous, become an official lawkeeper by joining our Patreon today. Follow us on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook at Living by the Law. All links are in the description, and thank you in advance. We have been, and always will be, living by the law. Thank you for your company, and good night.